Hey, Vetters! I have a very special episode for you today. I am interviewing Mick West. He is considered to be the world's leading skeptic about UFOs. Now, why am I interviewing? Well, he recently got caught up in something that's being deemed sort of the Wikipedia scandal, and I did make a video about that not too long ago. You can check it out here if you want to get more information about the situation. Put a link in the description. So I just wanted to give Mick a chance to give his side of things, and I kind of pushed back, and we had a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. Very spirited, but at the same time, very friendly and civil, and I really enjoyed it. So, again, if you're new to the channel, y'all, and you like content like this, please hit that subscribe button. Put out a new video every day, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, and sometimes special videos like today. And, of course, hit that like button, y'all. That really helps out the videos. So thank y'all so much for the support there, Vetters. And, of course, comment down below. What do you think of Mick's comments about Wikipedia, his involvement, just Wikipedia in general? Very curious to hear that. And, of course, I did happen to get a few of y'all's questions out at the end. Didn't get to all of them, but most of them. So stay tuned to the end for the fan questions from all the Vetters. So, again, thank y'all so much for putting in civil questions to ask him. And I hope y'all enjoy the interview. Actually, I think would be more fair to you would be if you want to steel man this whole like Wikipedia. I'll do a separate intro for this interview, but if you just want to steel man that argument of the Wikipedia, Lucky Louie, Guerrilla Skeptics, I'm sort of familiar with it, but not
I
too,
guess,
like I made a video on it, but I don't know too much about it.
yeah. So Wikipedia obviously is online encyclopedia that anyone can edit. I used to edit it myself, like back, like, I don't know, 10, well, more than that. It was back in a long time ago, like 14, 15 years ago or something like that. And I kind of got disillusioned with editing it because, you have to jump through all these hoops. It was more fun just essentially blogging. So I said I moved over to doing my contrail science blog and then Metabunk, and I never really looked back. But back then, I did. Yeah, I originally logged on under my own name, Mick West, and I decided I'd rather be anonymous, so I switched to a different account, which is called Herd of Swine. It's a biblical reference when I was talking about Bible stuff at the time.
Sure.
And then I wanted to edit like some other pages. I edited it as Mick West. I think it was like the Parasol Stars page because I worked on Parasol Stars is an old arcade game, like Tato game. And I edited that as Mick West, and that somehow like triggered like this sock puppet detection thing, and I got my account was banned. And then years later, I asked for it to be restored, and it was restored. So this was like a little bit of context to my own personal Wikipedia thing, but that's pretty
Sure.
much
Of
all of
course.
my Wikipedia experience because I've done nothing except like maybe correct a few typos here and there as I see them in the last 15 years. So recently, like, there's a couple of people on Twitter, Matt Ford and Rob Heatherly. I think Rob Heatherly is the guy who's really been into investigating this. And they've been looking at the edits that have been made by a group of people called Guerrilla Skeptics on Wikipedia. And they are a group run by Susan Gerbic, who is like, someone I know, like I've seen her at conferences and, met her several times. I'm not a member of this Guerrilla Skeptics group. But so she runs this Guerrilla Skeptics group, and their goal, which I agree with, is to improve Wikipedia from a skeptical scientific perspective. So that means going into articles, say on stuff like mediums, mediums who speak to the dead, and making sure that there's kind of scientific balance to the claims they're making. Because often what happens is in kind of niche subjects like that, the fans of that subject, like the fans of the medium or the fans of a particular person, will go in and they'll make edits that are kind of more favorable to the person. And so, the Wikipedia skeptics kind of try to establish balance. And of course, they're doing it from a skeptical perspective, which means that it gets a little bit, I guess, like skewed towards skepticism, which if you're a skeptic, of course, you don't think that's a bad thing. We all should be
Sure.
asking for relevant claims and whatnot. So they've been editing various pages for years, and about 5% of what they edit is actually UFO pages. It's a fairly small percentage of what they edit. And I think Rob saw some of the edits being made to these pages because the good thing about Wikipedia is it's all public domain. Like it's all open, and that includes the edit history. So you can look at any page and you can see every single edit that was made to that page, and you can see who made that edit. They'll usually type in a comment explaining why they did it, and then you can see what the changes were. And so he found some of these changes he didn't like. They seemed to be downplaying certain things about people, and removing bits of text. When I say he, we're talking about a specific editor that he found issue, which is a guy called Lucky Louie, who's I think a member of the Guerrilla Skeptics organization. I'm not entirely sure about that, but yeah, I think he is because it's all been in the mix. And originally, they thought that Lucky Louie was me, which he isn't, and he should be able to tell that by just going and looking in the guy's edits. The guy's, excuse me, the guy's really interested in like ham radio. Like people who try to talk to people around the world. He's really into that and a
Yeah.
bunch of other stuff. He's just some old guy that I don't know who he is. I don't really have any idea of who he is either. I don't think Susan knows who he is. I think he's just some anonymous editor on Wikipedia. I'm not sure if he's even a member of her group, but he's not me. But anyway, so Rob Heatherly has say he doesn't like these edits, and they try to go and change some edits. Problem with Wikipedia though is that for a beginner, when you go in there and you start editing it, it's first of all, it's kind of intimidating because it has this weird markup language that you've got to kind of learn for doing links and things. And it's also there's lots and lots of guidelines, and they're not immediately obvious where they are and how to find them. And some of them are really, really long documents. And the editors
Sure.
have been there for years. They kind of know how to use it. When
Yeah.
you come in there as a
Makes
new
sense.
person and you start editing it, you edit something, and you say, "Oh, this is wrong." Like say, Lou Elizondo, he was born in Texas, I think, but he in his article it says he was born in Florida, in like Miami, I think. I'm not entirely sure. And the reason it says that in the Wikipedia article is that there is a magazine article, which is a reliable source, which says that he was born in Miami. Now, people who know Lou Elizondo, maybe he himself, I think, oh, that's bullshit. I was born in Texas, and go in there and you change it. But because you're deleting something that actually has a reference, it kind of like that breaks the Wikipedia guidelines, and so you can't correct it. So people go in there and they try to make good faith edits. They know something is wrong, but they just go in and just delete something that has a reference and type something else instead with no reference, and then they
Sure.
expect that to stay. And what happens? It gets reverted. And so it seems like there's this, I don't know, a conspiracy to keep things a certain way. And so, that's basically what's been happening is, these people have been editing it. They're nothing really to do with me. Although, like I said, I know Susan Gerbit. We go to the same conventions. We both have one of these plaques here because we're both members of the Committee for Skeptical Inquiry. We're fellows of that.
Yeah.
But I'm not part of her group, and she's doing stuff I think mostly in good faith. Well, I think it's entirely in good faith to try to improve Wikipedia, but it comes across as being, not favorable to ufology. Because of people who believe in certain aspects of ufology are going to be like, "Oh, it's a skeptic editing it."
Sure.
And that's about the size of things. That's kind of what happened.
Yeah. And the show, the Good Trouble show, right, with
Oh
Matt
yeah,
Ford,
yeah,
they did this expose, I don't know what you want to call it, whatever they called it. It's like a
yeah,
3-parter. I honestly it was too
yeah. It's
much
like
to
5
watch.
hours of
I
stuff, and
couldn't
they were
watch
going
all of
through
it.
edits. Yeah,
Yeah. So they, made some pretty, I would say pretty serious accusations against you. And I saw you on Twitter being like, well, hey, let me come on and defend myself on your show, and they pretty much denied you and said, you're an issue for national security. And I
yeah.
thought,
I know that was
wait
kind
a
of funny,
second.
wasn't it? It was
Yeah.
like
I mean,
I've
look,
I've done enough damage to national security that he didn't want to give me a platform. Although he was fine talking about me for 5 hours on his show, but
sure.
yeah, he
I
didn't want me
look,
to come on.
I'm neutral in this. I just want to like report on it and give you
Yeah,
an
no, I appreciate it.
opportunity here. But I will say that I just didn't think that was fair.
Yeah,
And yeah, I thought that was just personally, I thought that was definitely going way too far. National security, like what are we talking about? That
well,
just blew my mind. But I just thought, well, okay, Mick deserves a chance to defend himself on this case.
Yeah, I
fairly.
appreciate that.
That's really what I thought. I thought, that's. I don't really have guests on this show, to be honest. I mean, I know I started with you and Nick Pope, Avi Loeb. I interviewed this woman from MUFON, but as I've gotten into this, I just do daily videos. I've done
Yeah.
one interview in the last 6 months on this
Wow.
channel, so it's
I'm
not something I normally do. But I just thought,
I'm
you know
honored.
what? I thought let's have him on. I would love to talk about this and give you a chance to sort of explain where you're coming from, your
Yeah.
situation, and let people hear that. Again, because I had covered it on here. So yeah, what do you? I'll let you just sort
Well,
of.
I mean, to be fair, like, you can kind of understand some of the criticism, because you've got this group of editors and the skeptics, and I go to these skeptic conventions, and I know a lot of, I know Susan, and I know a lot of people who are skeptics. I assume they're similar to the other people who edit Guerrilla Skeptics on Wikipedia. I think I know a couple of the others. I met some of them briefly, because Susan has a table, of the thing. And they're a varied group of people, and they have various levels of kind of technical expertise, and also various levels of kind of like how seriously they're willing to take the topic. Now,
Sure.
ufology has traditionally, amongst the general population, been regarded as a kind of a niche subject. You think of flying saucers, aliens, that type of thing, and
Sure.
the conspiracy theorists will tell you that's deliberate, as CIA plot to belittle it. But either way, like that's the way it's actually perceived. So a lot of the people who are in scientific skepticism will think, oh well, ufology, it's a fringe subject, so we've got to treat it the same as other fringe subjects. And Wikipedia actually has rules uh, for for how you treat fringe subjects, and you can read
Oh,
them.
they do.
Yeah, yeah, and
That's
so
interesting.
it's like the kind of burden of proof is a bit different when you've got something that's generally considered to be fringe. Like if you've got something about,
Interesting.
say, a guy is talking to dead people, you
Sure.
can't like write the article and just basically uncritically say that this guy talked to a dead person and he gave him this information. You have to put it in the context of basically how mainstream science views these things. So you'd start out on a mediumship article saying, talking to the dead is generally considered to be a pseudoscience. And then when they make claims, you don't frame it as this actually happened. You frame it as he claimed that it happened. And when you're coming into it from a scientific skeptic perspective, that makes perfect sense. Because you think these are extraordinary claims that haven't been proved by the evidence. Now, with ufology, it's not exactly the same type of thing because, if you're talking about things like talking to the dead, depending on your point of view, like most mainstream scientists would say that, most of these mediums are charlatans and it has no basis in reality. There's no scientific evidence whatsoever. But with UFOs, there are actually real things that happen that are genuine science type things. When you see a video like the Gimbal video, for example, that was a real video that was taken. It's not like it's complete pseudoscience that video exists. And the mystery about what that object is and the discussion about it is it's a genuine, essentially scientific dispute as to what it might be. I think it's this one thing. I've demonstrated various things, and other people think it's other things. So
Yeah.
it kind of exists a little bit more on the borderline between science and pseudoscience, because there's aspects of it that are genuine science, but there's also aspects of it that kind of veer off into kind of speculation and pseudoscience, like talking about interdimensional beings isn't something that most scientists would even consider to be a plausible explanation for UFOs, and so that would firmly go in the bucket of pseudoscience. But then, what did Ryan Graves see on his radar is a real issue. Was there something wrong with the radar? Was it a balloon? Is it an enemy drone? Is it a flying saucer? So that's like a real scientific question. But you're kind of getting back to the whole issue with the Wikipedia thing. The editors, the scientific skeptics, go in there, I think, largely with the view set, the mindset that it is all pseudoscience. UFOs is all pseudoscience. It's like it's fringe topic. It's people who believe in aliens and little green men, and they perhaps don't. They're not familiar with the subject enough to know the various nuances of it. And so some of the edits they might make would come across as being seeming a bit clumsy, like they're just kind of riding roughshod over someone who perhaps is reasonably well-meaning. Perhaps they're a little bit on the side of pseudoscience, perhaps they're a bit more aside to real science, but either way, they're trying to do a good faith edit, and then a skeptic comes in there who thinks that this is all nonsense and tries to get it on this like very rigorous, hardcore, like scientifically based situation, and then you get this conflict. And a lot of that can come down to the skeptic themselves not being familiar with the material. A lot of it's very nuanced. Like if you watch my talk with Marek later today, which hasn't happened yet, we'll get into all this nitty gritty about obscure technical details, and most people are just not
Sure.
familiar with it. So when someone
Sure.
comes in and deletes stuff, they might do it in a way that demonstrates they don't really understand what is being edited. So the skeptics themselves, the editors, they kind of have to fall back on just what is a reliable source here? What has been written about this? What this was said in an article, so I can write that. Even though they don't really perhaps understand the nuances of the situation, they understand that something was written down, and then therefore they can put that in Wikipedia. But for someone who's deeply familiar with the topic, like me or you, or other people like even like Matt Ford and Rob Heatherly, it could come across as seeming like they're just deleting stuff because they think it's stupid, when really it's
Sure.
just they're trying to stick to the standards of the Wikipedia, Guerrilla Wikipedia Skeptics and Wikipedia itself.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, that's great. I think you set up a great base here for us to start a good conversation. Like I think I can understand people's concerns about the Guerrilla Skeptics as a group. Like personally, my belief is, and to be fair, I don't know too much about Wikipedia, but I don't like the idea personally of a group that's main function is to edit Wikipedia. I like the idea of just individuals. So people
Yeah.
coming together to decide a narrative and put way more time and effort in. And again, if they're a
Well,
group and they're that efforted, like the fact that they would even make clumsy mistakes, and if they are so concerned about, making sure it's right and whatever, then they would learn the nuances of these small niches or what they call fringe. And honestly, I don't know if I like the idea of Wikipedia
yeah.
determining what's fringe and what's not. Like, who's making these decisions is all I'm saying. That's all it is.
Yeah.
I'm not saying
Yeah.
one way or the other it's true. Does that make sense?
No, no, I see what you're
I'm not
saying.
saying the group is being
Yeah.
disingenuous. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I wouldn't like if it was a group of UFO people who were like, hey, we're the guerrilla UFOers
Yeah.
and we go and edit all this stuff. I wouldn't like that either.
Well, yeah, I think
I don't
it's
know.
not really a group editing endeavor. It's a group of people who, basically individually go in and they do an article. Like if
But
you
they've
can,
got to be talking about stuff. I know they have a private
yeah,
Facebook group called the Cabal, and I get they're playing against it, but I can see how people would see that and go, "Come on, you're kind of slapping us in the face with that." And
yeah, but the reason they have that group, well, not they have why they have the group, why it's called that, is because they were accused of being this secret cabal, and they found it amusing.
well, that's
This
what I
this is
mean.
this is something that kind of has played out before, because
Sure.
there are other people who have made similar accusations against Guerrilla Skeptics, and there was what they call an ARPCOM um, discussion on Wikipedia. So Wikipedia has these levels of kind of administration. So there's administrators, and then there's super administrators, I think, and then there's that's basically it. But then within the administrators themselves, if there becomes a debate or a kind of a conflict, they basically get together on a page and they try to figure out what to do. So and someone can lodge a complaint with ARPCOM, the Arbitration Committee. And that happened with Wikipedia, with GSOW, the Guerrilla Skeptics on Wikipedia, a few years ago. I think it was like 2018. I'm not sure exactly. It was a completely different topic, I think. I can't remember what it was. It might have been the medium stuff, or it might have been something like homeopathy or some kind of pseudoscience or something. So someone complains and they say, Guerrilla Skeptics is organizing and they're editing pages and they shouldn't be doing this. Excuse me. And so the lodge a complaint, and the arbitration committee looks into it, and they have this long discussion, which you can read because again, it's all public. None of this was secret.
Sure.
And eventually they come out at the end of it, and they said, well, pretty much GSOW didn't really do anything wrong. Perhaps they should be a little bit more, I don't know, cognizant of certain rules or something. This one guy was a bit over the line, and he should try to stay out of editing things for the next 6 months. And that was basically all it was. They've been through the ringer. They've been closely scrutinized by Wikipedia itself, and the editors are on Wikipedia who are not members of,
Sure.
of this.
No, I get all that. I'm saying apart from that, like just as a
Yeah.
person, I don't like the idea of a group. If this is something we're supposed to trust, because that could that could start to go south real quick. Oh, so
Yeah.
people go, oh, there's the Guerrilla Skeptics of Wikipedia, they call themselves, like of Wikipedia. So then you
Well,
think, okay, well, how many other groups are going to start to pop up and start to come together? Because I know you say they're not a group, but I've seen that they like recruit people and they say who they're going to let
yeah,
in,
the
who they're not going to
training.
let in. That's a group. I don't know how
It
else
is a
to
group. It
describe
is
a
a group.
group.
But I think part of the reason why you need a group, well, it exists for two reasons, I think. One is that they provide training, and that's kind of the big thing. If you ever look at what Susan Gerbic talks about, is that they basically they recruit people and then they train them, which is just basically telling them what all the how to edit and what the guidelines are and stuff like that. And then they just let them off. They go and edit whatever they like, and people do edit pages individually.
Yeah.
Susan herself, I don't see her collaborating with people on things. She goes in there and she edits
I just don't
edits a
buy that,
page.
man. That
But
doesn't make
but
sense
yeah,
to
but
me.
like here's the bigger picture here is that when you go into a page, say you go into the Scientology page,
Yeah.
I'm picking that as a deliberately particularly
Sure, sure.
troublesome page. You go into the Scientology page, there's a shitload of Scientologists who are editing that page to try to make Scientology look good.
I believe that.
And if you
And
have
that
one
bothers me.
person go in there and try to make changes,
They're gonna
they're not going
get
to get anything. So you
well,
kind
there's
of
you go.
need to have a little bit of collaboration
I don't
to
know.
be able to, otherwise, what are you going to do? You just have like you
Sure.
let the people who already have a group edit the page. So let's say there's like five guys who decide they're going to edit
Sure.
all the UFO pages, so they're all like UFOs have been admitted to be real by the U.S. government. The U.S. government has admitted it has bodies, and
Yeah,
they say all this
totally.
stuff that isn't accurate or is
Sure.
mischaracterizing stuff or something like that. Then individuals come in. How do you achieve a balance? It's something that I think that you're never going to please everybody.
That's true.
And that's the kind of the beauty of Wikipedia is that it doesn't please everybody. It's
Yeah,
something that is a compromise between various people.
sure.
And it may be that the guerrilla skeptics are having too much influence on UFO pages, and it might be better balanced by other people going in and editing. And I would be all for more people editing Wikipedia properly. Like if Rob wants to go in and edit Wikipedia properly, that's great. But unfortunately, what happens is people with no experience of Wikipedia go in and they don't have any training in the way the guerrilla skeptics do. So they don't know the guidelines. They go in there and they start making edits and they start, they're kind of like a group trying to make changes, but they're doing it all wrong. And then they get reverted. And then it becomes this thing where they think that they're being suppressed. But if they took more time and they can organize as well. There's no rules against organizing people to make edits.
No, I just think that's a bad road to go. I mean, I know you gave the
Sure,
Scientology as a
but
good example, but
how do you not do it? I mean,
well,
how does it work if you don't do it? It's like saying, oh, I don't think we should have
sure,
unions because everyone should be able to make their own deal with the boss.
sure.
But unions exist for a reason because collective bargaining is way more effective than individual bargaining. And historically
Yeah,
speaking, there are reasons for that. Obviously, the gross excesses of the rich classes back in the 30s, etc. But how do you get to a situation where everybody is just happily editing Wikipedia? There's no
yeah,
conflicts. It's not
yeah,
going to work. And I don't really think it's
yeah.
like this cabal. It is individual people.
Sure.
Lucky Louis, I think Susan Goey doesn't even know who he is. Yeah, she's probably
Yeah,
talked to him. I don't think she even has his email. I think she's talked to him on his talk page, which is public. All talk pages on Wikipedia are public, so you can see conversations between people. But he, I think, is a very private person, and yeah, he on his talk page he said like, they'll never find me, because he doesn't want to be, doxed. I mean, who does? Like, you get people like sending stuff to his home address and things like that. But he's just an individual doing
yeah.
what he thinks should be done to these pages. I don't think he's colluding with anybody.
Yeah, again, I would just push back and say that I think freedom's a little messy. And the moment someone tries to start taking control, whether that's good intentioned or not, or in good faith or whatever, I don't see that
Yeah.
as the right thing, and sort of what's supposed to be information, right? Because then who starts labeling misinformation,
Yeah.
disinformation? This isn't right. Like, who makes those decisions?
Right.
Most people that go on Wikipedia don't have any idea about any of this history.
Sure.
They don't know
Sure.
about any of the groups, any of the this, any of the editing. They just want to know, can I trust this? Right. But the truth is, I mean, it sounds like you just got to take it with a grain of salt. Like, I hear your point. I don't think it's comparable to unions, but I see why you would say that,
Yeah, it's just
because
it
that's a
popped into my
paid
head,
thing.
the
It's a
the
little bit
example.
different. Like, it has to do with your day, how you
Yeah.
live your life. I mean, that's
Yeah.
considerably different. Like how you provide food, shelter for your family. This is a little different.
It
Again,
is.
I don't think the solution to a bad idea is another bad idea. Meaning, if there is a group of Scientologists that do it, that the answer shouldn't be, well, let's create a group of skeptics. Because then what
Right.
happens? It's like war, right?
No,
Oh,
I
I
get
got a
it. I get
gun.
it.
I'll get a bigger gun. I'll get a bigger gun. We'll just keep
But
going. So
I think this is a
it may be a
fundamental.
little messery. I mean, it's all opinion. This is just my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm not saying. I'm not
It's
advocating. I'm not going to leave this interview and start a GoFundMe to change Wikipedia. None of
you
that.
should.
I'm just. It's no, no, dude. I don't really. To be honest with you, I don't really care that much, if I'm being honest. Like, I
Right.
thought this would be a fun conversation. I thought you deserved a chance to defend yourself. And again, it's just my
Yeah.
opinion.
No, I get it. And I think
I think things should be a little messy. I'm okay with that.
I think what you're talking about there is kind of like it's kind of like the fundamental problems with like libertarianism.
Sure,
It,
exactly.
it's somewhat of a utopian ideal that we should be able to all live without any regulations
Of
and
course.
without police and stuff like that. But does it actually work in practice? And
Well,
it's kind of hard to say because we don't actually have any good examples of say a
I'm
pure.
not advocating for libertarianism, by the way.
No, no, but
That's not
it's the
what I'm
same type
saying.
of thing. Like, if you made Wikipedia so that there's no rules, anyone can edit anything. Like,
That's not what I'm
how
saying.
yeah.
That's not
Yeah,
what
but it's
I'm
an extreme
saying, though, by the
example.
way.
Extreme example. So like, then you've got like you do have a lot of rules. Then you've got people working within those rules. But then you've got an issue here that there's a group of people working together to edit pages, which I don't think is really a good characterization. But let's say they are kind of working together to edit pages. But part of
There's
the
no way
reason,
that some of those people are not getting together, having emails, having phone call, and decide. There is just no way that is not happening, in my
well,
opinion.
I doubt
Now,
they're actually having phone calls, but
I'm not saying it's disingenuous, and I'm not
yeah,
saying they have bad intentions, but just like I talk to my friends about anything, and you do too, there's no way that they're not having those conversations,
I
or at
think it's
least
all
one
pretty
hasn't been
open
out.
though. It's all pretty open, like what they're
I don't know,
discussing,
man. That
because
Facebook group is private, and there's no way, again, they don't have private emails.
yeah,
That wouldn't make sense to me. Again, I'm not saying they have any dubious intentions. I'm not
yeah, I think
suggesting that.
from what
But
I've
to suggest
seen,
that they're not having conversations behind the scenes, that just seems so unlikely to me.
but from what I've seen though, I think the behind the scenes conversations are things like, oh, this article on Thomas John the medium has been edited by one of his friends, and we should probably go and fix the references or something like that. It's not like
But that's kind of my point. Like, why are they like, we're the arbiters of this? Let's go
no,
fix
anyone can do it.
this.
It's just they're a bit, they're better organized. There's nothing to
That's
stop
what I'm
other
saying.
people getting organized.
I
I mean,
get it. And again, that's kind of
is
where
the
the
answer to
issue for me
ban
is.
organization?
No,
It's
no, I would never
because, like I
advocate
said,
for a
there's
law
this
against it.
there's the problem like the Scientology thing I raised earlier, that there are going to be groups of people who are advocates for a certain cause who go in and misleadingly edit pages. And it is not, I mean, like, yeah, Tim Gowlett. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce his name. The Navy guy.
Yeah.
He posted on Wikipedia that he had a problem that some of the edits to his page were I think actually there's someone just put like a warning saying the page was too like overly detailed based on the subject matter. And he says, well, I know this stuff is accurate because it was a member of my staff who went in there and did these edits, which unfortunately is a conflict of interest. That's like Tim himself um, having his organization. I think it's a PR company that he owns. I know it might not be PR. I'm not sure about that, but some company that he owns, a
Yeah.
marketing company perhaps. He had the chief marketing officer edit his Wikipedia page.
Yeah. I
So I
saw that.
mean that's the type of thing that you need other people to go in and fix because if it's someone who with a
I agree.
conflict of interest doing it,
Totally.
so and that happens as well. It's not just the GSOW editing these pages. Lots and lots of people edit it. You look at
Sure.
my page, people try to edit that because they're like, well, let's give Mick a taste of his own medicine. And they go in there and
Sure.
they start deleting things like, they deleted the fact that I got this, that I'm a member of CSI because it wasn't properly referenced or something. And then somebody put it back. And the person who put it back, I don't think was a member of GSOW. Then they deleted it again. And then someone else, a different person put it back. And they do it a third time. It becomes an edit war and they start locking the article and things like that. But people going in and editing pages without knowing what they're doing need someone else to fix those things. You can't just just
Yeah.
let these things fly. So I think they're
I
providing a good
understand.
service, but I think they might do things that are not ideal, and some of the edits that Rob Heatherly has highlighted might not be ideal edits. There might be like bad things. There was one thing on Ross
I think
Coulthard's
removing
page.
some people's, if that's true, that they removed like people's like, they had a PhD or
Yeah,
something
but
like
that was
that,
done
right?
for an
Like,
extraordinarily specific reason, which is that it was a Wikipedia guideline. There was a list of people, it's like a list of references of people, and they were something like, Travis Taylor, PhD, and basically standard style guides for citing references and citations is that you don't put that the PhD next to people's names. And that's not just Wikipedia. That's like the I can't remember the names of the various style guides, but it's an actual thing in other situations. And so they're just basically
oh,
editing it
okay.
to follow
So
the
nobody has
standards.
PhD next to their name on
It
Wikipedia.
unless it well it, no it, I wouldn't say that, but in a list of citations you don't put it. If it's
Okay.
something that's important to the context, you can put it. If it's something that they're commonly known by, like say Dr. Phil, then you can put like Dr. Phil. You probably wouldn't put Dr. Phil
This is
MD. You would
so
just put
interesting.
Dr.
I'm
Phil.
learning about Wikipedia.
Yeah, you'll be able
Uh,
to be
uh,
edited
uh,
it soon.
no, no, I would never
I
do
wouldn't
that.
recommend it. Like, it's
No,
a bit of a
no.
time sink.
Look, it is a conundrum. I understand a lot of the facets. It's like I
Yeah,
can see both sides of the coin. I I can see the need for regulations and rules, of course, but that is the struggle, right? So we
yeah,
want a society, but
yeah.
be as free as
It's the
possible. We don't want that rubber band
compromise.
too tight, right? What is that
Yeah,
compromise?
yeah,
And that compromise is always going to be a body of water that's moving because it's going to flow from one end to the other. So there
hmm
is no like line directly down the middle. This is
yeah.
fair for
Absolutely,
everybody.
it's a gray zone. Yeah.
It's a gray zone, and it will be forever.
And an
And
unhappy gray zone as well. It's because it's a
for
compromise,
sure,
and the compromise means that no one's getting what they want. We're all meeting in the middle, but that's
I get it.
society. It doesn't work for
It's
everyone.
just the whole group thing I don't like. I
Yeah,
don't think
yeah,
I
I
just will
understand that.
never like that. It's like again, I think freedom's a little messy. I've always liked this Noam Chomsky quote of about freedom of speech.
Yeah,
If you can't protect the worst speech, then you don't believe in freedom of speech. And I'm not saying that Wikipedia just needs to be this wild west of information either, but again, when people start deciding, well, that's quackery or this is
yeah,
that, these type of thing, I don't really like. I think people should decide for themselves. Just put the facts of what is
sure.
happening, and then I'll decide for myself if I believe it or not. I don't need to be swayed or pushed one
But
way or the other.
from a practical perspective here, you're not going to change it. Guerrilla Skeptics isn't going to be disbanded.
No, no,
So,
I get it.
like, yeah, I
Of
get it.
course
You
not.
don't like it, but what are we
Yeah.
going to do about it? Like, and I wouldn't say we can do nothing about it. I think,
Nothing.
yeah, if you feel like there's an imbalance here, your options here are just like complain about it, maybe lodge a complaint with the arbitration board or something, but that's not going to go
Sure.
anywhere.
Sure.
Or you can,
Or you
encourage
start a
people to
group.
edit. Yeah, it doesn't have to
Yeah.
be a group. It can be, just like
Well,
kind
that's
of like
probably what's going to happen.
GSOWs. Then
I
then you
mean,
get these, but like, this
but
happens
those
already
listening, do
on
not invite me to
Wikipedia.
that group. I do not want to be a part of any Wikipedia group.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to get into this. It's just a personal opinion because I like to just throw out my opinion.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
But there are pages that are way more contentious than the UFO
Oh, I
pages,
believe that.
where
I believe that.
I'm sure there's an insane amount of drama going on with the editing of some
Of
of, yeah, I
course.
mentioned like, like the Scientology, but there's all kinds of things, other political pages. I'm sure
Oh,
there's huge issues there. I
I
mean,
can
this is a
imagine the
pretty much
political
small
stuff.
fry, the
Sure.
UFO stuff. But
I get it.
it's gonna be the same type of thing. There's gonna be a dispute, and there's gonna be a gray area, and there's gonna
Yeah.
be sometimes someone goes too far over one side, someone is going to go too far the other side.
Sure.
It'll end up with something that's going to be more or less,
It falls where it falls.
not happy for everybody, but more
Yeah.
or less
I get
hopefully
it.
accurate. And with Wikipedia has guidelines to try to make sure things are accurate by saying things should be referenced. Unfortunately, that means that like Lou Elizondo's birthplace is incorrect, but that can be fixed. Lou Elizondo needs to state in an interview or something where he was born. There needs to be an article written, and then they can fix the web page. But they have the rules for a
So
reason.
so some of those rules, like any rules, they're not perfect and they
Yeah.
can lead to some errors on
Oh,
some of these
definitely. Yeah.
Wikipedia
Yeah. I mean,
pages,
there are
which look,
errors.
I've
We
always
know there's
taken
errors.
Wikipedia with a grain of salt,
Yeah.
knowing that it's publicly edited, right?
Yeah.
It's sort
Yeah.
of a information of the people, and that can sway back or forth, however that is. But anyway, yes, uh, you know, I totally hear your points of what you're saying for sure. Um, and I've enjoyed this conversation about it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Look,
Well, not fun topic, but it's interesting to me because it does touch on these. How do you achieve consensus on a
it's just who starts
contentious?
controlling information is a
Yeah.
worrisome to me. Again, I'm not saying that Guerrilla Skeptics did anything dubious. I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying it can lead to that by having these groups. But again, I'm not trying to start a law. I'm not saying Wikipedia should have a
Yeah.
thing. It's just my opinion. I'm just saying it just the same way, I may say, hey, this Nazi over here with the salute and saying Hitler, I'm going to be like, you suck. I hate you.
Yeah.
Oh, do you want a law against him being able to say? I'm going to say, no, I don't want a law against. I believe in freedom of speech, but I also believe I should be able to say you're full of shit, dude. So it's just that. That's all I'm saying.
I
I
know what you're
don't think there
saying.
should be any law or rules against them doing it. I would never, because that to me is a slippery slope as well. Like, well,
Yeah.
okay, that's not good.
Yeah.
I think people should have access to the best information possible.
I
And
agree. I
the
agree.
discussion is
How do you get there?
yeah, how do we get there? Who makes those decisions? And I get it. It's just a lot of
Yeah.
conversations and no one's ever going to agree on that. And I get
Yeah.
that.
Well, even the skeptics don't
So
agree. Like at
yeah,
one of the
for
skeptic
sure.
conferences I went to, it was many years ago, like 10 years ago, I think. Susan was giving a talk there, and I remember there was at least one person in the audience who seemed stridently opposed to what she was doing. She was like, "You
That
can't
was
tell
me.
me."
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
It was a small woman, as I remember, so it
Oh,
probably wasn't you.
yeah. From a distance, I look like that. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah, but but she said like, she basically said like, you don't tell me what to think or something like that. Which,
Sure.
it's like any conference, there's a variety of people there, and there's
Sure.
people
Of
who
course.
there's conferences who are a bit more of the libertarian, we don't like regulations type view,
Sure.
which is fair enough. It's perfectly valid viewpoint, but we've all got to live together in society, and Wikipedia is going to exist
I agree.
no matter what you do, and people are going to organize no matter
Sure. You
what you
can't
do
stop it.
within the
I mean, that's
rules.
humanity. That's
Yeah.
humanity. We
Yeah.
organize, right? That's just how it goes. So I totally get that.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
just worry
Robin's
that,
matter organizing there.
I mean, that's
You could go.
true. Let's be
Yeah.
fair. They are. And again, I do want to reiterate, I'm not I'm not bad mouthing them in any way. I honestly am neutral in this. I don't have any
Sure.
skin in the game. Um, in fact, Matt came and commented on my video when I did that video about Wikipedia. I basically said the same thing I said to you.
Yeah.
Just I have nothing about. I said in my video, I don't think you're Lucky Louie. I said all that. Like, dude, I don't think Mick is this guy. I don't know what the hell's going on here, but
Yeah.
just as the group itself, I don't agree with groups. Again, I'm not saying they're dubious, but whatever. I don't want to beat a dead horse here. I do want to get to some fan questions real quick, Mick,
Oh,
before we
sure. Yeah.
go. That some people ask, because again, I know you got this.
Yeah. No worries. I
How
can.
do you say that guy's name? Merrick.
Marek von Rennenkampf.
Okay, that's what I thought. I'm not
It's
too familiar
two
with
N's and two
him.
F's. Yeah, he writes in the Hill.
The Hill, right?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
He did something in the State Department, and he was like, he did like travel arrangements for Obama or something like that. So there's pictures of him with Obama. So he's got
Oh,
some security clearance, and I think
sure.
he is a former DoD analyst. But yeah, I don't know what he actually does now. He seems to spend most of his time on Twitter,
Yeah.
arguing with me.
Sure. Sure.
Uh,
Well, look, to be fair, I wanted to say this to you that I think it's very cool what you and him are doing. I saw the argument about like, hey man, it's just supposed to be me and you. He wants to bring this expert. I think
uh
y'all found a good balance or good solution.
Yeah,
I
we'll
kind of
see.
agreed with you in the sense that, hey man, you agreed with me with this thing. We should do that. Like I said that to my friend. I was like, dude, that guy should just do that because he agreed to that. And then say after that we can have a kid. Do you want to have this conversation with me? And
Hmm.
I think exactly what I suggested, you did. So I'm glad. Like y'all found that. Okay, we're gonna talk for an hour first, and then we'll bring in the other guy. I think that's fair because that best serves the audience. Because y'all are
Yeah,
live streaming it. If it was a private conversation, whatever, right? But the fact that y'all are live streaming means you're concerned about the audience. You're concerned about who's watching it, and I think y'all did
yeah,
what's best for the audience. So
yeah.
I'm
And
happy you guys
that's
are doing that. I look forward to
that's the
watching it.
goal. It's like,
Yeah,
communicating what's going, because like,
totally.
I understand the arguments. I think like there will be some new stuff that comes up. It's not just simply like we're repeating the same arguments.
I agree.
There's
I
a
agree.
difference between doing it on Twitter and doing it live. You can get
100%.
through things a lot quicker.
Oh, are you kidding me?
Uh,
I don't type anything. I'm barely on. I don't go on. The only thing I do on Twitter, I've maybe made a few comments, but mainly I just like I made to you, right? I made a comment to you.
yeah,
I mean, I lurk a lot.
yeah.
I
I
read a
do too
lot, but
much.
I don't like typing or writing things out because I feel like I never get my point across. I like to speak. I speak with my hands, I'm very animated.
Hmm.
I could just get more out
Yeah,
of where I'm coming from. And anytime I type it out, it never comes across
yeah.
right.
I
Like
should be more like
ever.
that.
It's no, I get it. It's a game. I'm actually impressed by people who can do it because I'm not clever, so I can never have a clever comeback or
You seem pretty
something that you
clever
need
to
on
me.
Twitter. You know what I mean? I don't know. When I get on Twitter, it's a whole I don't know what I'm doing. I just like dead. I don't know. I can never. Anyway, yes, I'm glad y'all are doing that. So I look forward to watching that. But look, let's jump to some of these questions. These are just
Yeah.
some vetters. That's what I call the people. That's the name we came up with for everyone that watches vetted. And they had some great questions for you. So yeah, let's start here. Oh gosh, my mouse wasn't working. All right, here we go. Here we go. Um, I would like to. This is from Katrilli. I'm saying that right. I would like to know if there are any cases he has investigated that led him to reconsider or adjust his views on the existence of ET life or UFOs and or UAPs.
Well, not really. I guess only in the sense that the more cases I look at, like the more it seems like things either resolve to being mundane explanations or, in the low information zone where you can't actually figure out what it is. And every time something comes out of the low information zone, it ends up being something pretty boring.
Sure,
So it's changed my opinion, but not in the direction that I think people would want it to change. I've become a
sure,
bit more used to seeing, each time a pilot sees some lights out in the sky, it's Starlink. Obviously not all of them, but
sure,
it's you see the more of that you see, the more it seems like maybe it's all just misidentifications, unfortunately.
sure. This is from Beyond Cosmic. Why has this? I don't know why this question is for you, but Maybe you have an answer. Maybe there's a reason they're asking. Why was the original 64-page UAP amendment gutted? I'm not sure if you would
No,
have
the
direct
reason
knowledge of that.
that, yeah, no, that's the Schumer amendment they're talking about there, I
Yeah,
think.
no, I know what they're talking about. I just mean like I don't
Well,
know
I
what
mean,
you
obviously,
connection you have
I
to it,
don't know
right? Like,
why, but
yeah,
the reason given was that
yeah,
it overlapped existing
right.
legislation, basically the legislation that sets up Arrow, and so they say we already have Arrow, and we say we
Let's
don't
not have
need
both.
another
Yeah,
thing. So Arrow is supposed to be looking into historical UFO um, investigations. And
right.
Arrow is supposed to be looking at UFO cases and reporting them to the various people. And they have, they're spending lots of money. Arrow's spending loads of money doing this. They're spending many millions of dollars already. Do you need
Sure.
another body doing it as well? So that's the reason that they gave. Of course, the people, the UFO fans don't, and I don't mean UFO fans in a derogatory way. I'm a UFO fan myself.
Sure.
UFO
Oh yeah, yeah.
fans think that's part of a cover up because they think the Schumer amendment would be better than Arrow, and they think Arrow is part of the government cover up. But
Yeah.
from the
I
perspective
mean, I've
of
even
the
been
government, they think,
accused as
why
being
spend
part
more
of the
money?
government cover up. So
Who hasn't?
yeah,
I mean,
I know
everybody
it's
has. Like Lou Elizondo has, Ross Coulthard
every.
has, David
It's
Grush
like
has,
I
Bob
think it's
Lazar
part of
has.
the yeah. It's part of the I don't
Yeah.
know the entrance into the community or something. Like oh,
Yeah,
I must
you
be
can't
part
please
of it if
everyone,
I'm
and so the people you
yeah.
don't please think you're part of the cover up.
Well, they're like, oh, where did Betty come from? They came out of nowhere and they're blowing
Oh,
up and everybody's
yeah, and you've
watching.
got
It's
such
like
good
you
lighting.
must be, yeah, yeah. He's got good lighting. He must have a budget. They paid him.
Yeah,
He's working for the guy. I'm like, man, if y'all knew how I live my life and like, trust me, you would
yeah.
not think I'm that organized. Next question. This is from the same guy, Beyond Cosme. He says, what does he think of Carl Nell? What do you think of Carl Nell?
Oh, he's similar to Dave Grush, I think. He's someone who, is in the intelligence community of the military and believes these stories that we have crash retrieval programs. And so he's one of the people who talks to Dave Grush, and they talk to each other. They talk to Eric Davis. They've talked to Jay Stratton. They talked to Travis Taylor. And my feeling is that it's probably something like what Kirkpatrick said, and that it's essentially it always come back to this same small group of people who have been telling the same story to each other over the decades, going back to the 50s and 60s, that there's been these crash retrievals. But from Kirkpatrick, unless he's lying, of course, which is, everyone, not a lot of people accuse him of lying. He says that yeah, they looked into these things, the evidence that's been presented, they haven't found anything to support it. And they think it's basically just this group of people telling each other things. And I think that's probably what's going on with Carl Nell. He's been convinced of the reality of these programs, but until they manage to get some actual real evidence rather than just he told me this, he told me that, it's not going to amount to very much. Yeah, it would be very interesting and great, really, for science if it's true. But I know I'm pretty dubious. I think
Yeah,
I think they're being honest. I think they're convinced that it's true, but I don't think they really have the evidence to demonstrate that it's true.
sure.
We'll see.
Look,
We'll see.
to my listeners watching, they're gonna be like, Patrick, why aren't you pushing back on that? Why aren't you asking that? I don't have time if I have to ask all these questions, y'all. So, I can't. I want Mick to just be able to give his answer and move on. Just I know my audience is gonna say something about that.
Yeah.
Um, this is from Teller Men's. I hope I'm saying that right. Question: regardless of belief, what are the implications of certain groups or institutions having the sole authority over all information? I mean,
No, they
we
don't have
kind
the
of
sole
touched on
authority.
that.
No one
Yeah,
has the sole
I agree.
authority. It's
I
they have
agree.
perhaps undue influence at most, but
Sure.
you could get 10 people together and go and start editing Wikipedia pages. It's not like it's the
Yeah.
biggest group of people out there. And you'd have to spend a bit of time getting your Wikipedia chops. But yeah, there's lots. Then there's disputes on between themselves and then with other editors, and you can go to the talk page and discuss it on the talk page, and things might get resolved. You find a friendly editor, a friendly admin. There isn't one group. If there was just one group having authority over what is true and what is not, that would be terrible. That would be a really bad thing. But that's not what's going on here.
Sure. Absolutely. Um, Okay. This is uh, this is great. Brian Griffiths, 1114. I find Mick West entertaining and often thought-provoking, even though I may not always agree with him. I also suspect, and let's be real, y'all, there's no one on the world you're going to agree everything with. So that's like, right? Like I always
Yeah,
say that. Um, that deep down, he wants to be convinced of the existence of UFOs and visiting ATs.
I
Oh,
would
I
say
think we'd all
that's not
be,
deep
be
down.
yeah, it's
That's
like if an alien showed up, we'd all be
yeah,
excited,
that'd be
right? Yeah,
great. I
like
would love it. I'd love it.
sure,
And yeah, I'd love to discover it myself. Like, and look at study a UFO video and be able to prove that this was an actual genuine anomaly.
of
But
course,
unfortunately, that's not what happens. I go into these investigations of UFO videos trying to figure out what's going on in the video. And of course, you
sure,
have to consider mundane explanations. But if none of those mundane explanations fit, then it could be something else. It could be something that is genuinely anomalous. But
sure,
there really hasn't been any compelling evidence of that. But I would love for it to be true. I'd love to, discover that the US government has a crashed flying saucer. That would be the most amazing thing ever. Like, the implications for the advancement of technology would be just incredible. So I think that would be great. And I don't want to be convinced in the way that, like, I'm brainwashing myself into being convinced.
sure.
I want to be convinced by the actual evidence coming out and demonstrating that that thing is real. And so, that's why I look at the actual evidence. That's why I look at videos.
I'm with you. I always say on my channel that I'm on the fence. That's kind of my thing. And I always say that I don't want to be robbed of the moment that I really can definitively confirm this truth of aliens and you. Does that make sense? I don't want to rob myself of that moment. I don't want to just start, I don't want to cross the finish line before I get there and be
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's real. This is happening. I'm just on the fence. To me, there's so much smoke. There's something worth looking into. And there's also a fun, entertaining part to it that I like.
Yeah.
It's just exciting, curious, the stars, the universe, where we come from, all these things. I lump it all together. That's kind of,
Yeah, no, I love that aspect of it as well, the science
that's
part of
kind of
it.
how I look at
Like
it.
I've learned so much stuff doing these
Sure.
investigations over the years, and improved my coding skills as well. I'm doing this big simulator thing that I do called SitRec, where I
Which is
recreate
awesome,
things.
by the way. I've seen some of that stuff you did with jellyfish and all that. It's
Yeah,
awesome, dude. Like this is what I tell people on the channel about you all the time is you don't have to agree with everything anyone is saying. Jeremy Corbell, Mick West, whoever the person is, right? But you can take what they're saying and things they provide, and it can be of value to you. And I think some of the stuff you provide is honestly essential if you're trying to take this kind of seriously. I think
yeah,
what you
it's
provide
straightforward
is is
science.
is pretty essential. Yeah, man. I
Yeah,
mean, look, I think you bring attention to the UFO community by just doing what you're doing. You do. You bring attention to people that go, oh, you know what? I could get into UFO stuff. Mix here, this here. Like
yeah,
this is like a balanced thing here. Let's again, people don't have to believe it or not believe it. They can be like myself of just, and I'm just here. I don't know. I'm not an arbiter of every. I don't know what's going on. I'm just here for the ride. Let's see where this goes. Something's going on. Is it crazy people, UFOs, disinformation, a mix, our advanced tech? Something's
mm,
exciting. Something's happening. I'm here for
yeah,
it.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I get it.
you know,
Yeah,
real quick, that question they wanted to ask you was, I'd like to know how he would react to an announcement made by the U.S. president confirming David Grush's claims or an event that resulted in catastrophic disclosure. I
yeah.
guess that means like
I mean,
the aliens would reveal themselves somehow,
well,
maybe
catastrophic
potentially.
disclosure is like someone other than the government controlling the disclosure, which is kind of weird, isn't it? Like you think about it, like we've got Carl Nell and David Grush out there saying, "Yeah, this is all real." Isn't that disclosure? I mean, how can you have catastrophic disclosure without the government saying? I guess you'd have to release some actual evidence, and that would be the catastrophic disclosure. But yeah, how would I react to it? I'd be like, "Whoa, that's very interesting." I'm like.
That's
Uh,
yeah.
I'd be like,
I'd
tell
have
me
a
more.
party. Tell me more. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I get it. I totally get it. Yeah,
I'd
I
be
think
like,
we would all all react that way. All
I
right,
mean,
this
how else would I react? I'd be like, oh no, I was wrong.
yeah, I was
Shit.
wrong. Shit, yeah, absolutely.
So no,
That's
I'd be
funny. Of
like, this is awesome.
course. Of course.
Yeah, and the thing
Absolutely.
is, like people say, like, yeah, Mick, if the government said like UFOs are real, like UFOs are actual, aliens or whatever, you'd be out of a job. And one, I don't have a job. This isn't, well, I don't have a job like,
Sure.
debunking things on Twitter. Uh,
I think there'd be more work for you to
yeah,
do than
exactly. I was going
ever.
to say, what would happen? There'd be way more UFO sightings after that than before. And so there'd be way
Sure.
more work in terms of disambiguating the
Sure.
sightings than there was before. So it's not like all of a sudden every single thing you see in the sky is now going to be the aliens or the transdimensional beings.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah,
Going to be the same
exactly.
as before.
Yes.
Most of them, if
Yes.
not all of them, are going to be the usual
Something else.
unfortunate airborne clutter and
Sure.
misidentifications.
This is from Mary Bodner. Hey, Patrick, I got a question for you to ask Mick. Okay. He debunked the gimbal video by saying it was either, pardon me, lens flares or something else of that nature.
Yeah.
But according to Ryan Graves and the other fighter pilots who were highly trained observers and weapon systems operators, there were fleets of these UFOs. So here's
Uh,
my question. Did Mick take into consideration that there were fleets of these UFOs, or did he just try to debunk the sole object that was in the video? How could an entire fleet of UFOs be
yeah.
chalked up as lens flares?
I definitely
Lens
don't think that the
flares.
whole fleet of UFOs was lens flares, and they're not even lens flares. It's what I would refer to as glare. This is where I
Glare,
whip
yeah.
out my flashlight and shine it at the camera. I have to do this in
Yeah.
every interview.
Yeah.
So this is
Sure.
glare. This is lens flare down here, the little internal
That's my thumbnail,
reflections.
Mick. That's my thumbnail right there. Yeah.
Yes. I did that with Louis Elizondo. But yeah, so this is a flashlight, and
Yeah.
this is glare, and you can't see the flashlight now because the flashlight is behind the glare because the engine is pointing at the camera,
Sure.
and so you can't see it. So the theory is that it's something like a distant plane was like flying along, and it turns and it's flying away from the camera, and so all you see is this glare, and it
Sure.
rotates because the camera rotates, stuff like that. But the fleet of things is a completely different kettle of fish. That's something they saw on the SA page, which is a what they call synthesized, means data from different sources gets synthesized together into one view. Uh, and they originally thought it was a commutex thing, which is a computerized training exercise, meaning it was simulated. They thought it was simulated at first, but then they said they determined that it wasn't, and then they thought it was real things. So I think that's the different thing. I think what we're seeing in the video is a hot object some distance away that might be unrelated to this fleet of things.
I see what
I
you're saying.
don't know what the fleet of things was. I don't know if it was an actual simulated thing or was it a real thing? Was it a radar glitch where one object appeared as five objects? Was the distance correct? There's been various speculations about these things. But yeah, I have looked into this, and in SitRec, there's actually two versions of the Gimbal recreation. One of which shows the distant object is a plane at 30 miles away, and it's a nice simple solution. You see the plane flying in a straight line, everything matches. And the other one is where the object is closer, and you have it flying. He has to fly in this weird kind of non-physical reverse U shape, like a J shape, and then that has to fit with the fleet. And I do a simulation of the fleet, and I have a simulation of the SA page
I gotcha.
showing that fleet moving around. Try to match it as close as possible to the descriptions that Ryan has given over the years, and try to figure out how fast it's going, the fleet is going, and how it turned, and how it might match this object
If you
if
could
at all.
connect the fleet to that video, like if you knew, okay, I've confirmed that this all part, would that change your like
Oh yeah, no, that would change things a lot. I mean,
like
like
what you
how
think of that it's a glare? Like, would you still think that, or that
no, I
that would
still think it's
change?
a glare because there's so much evidence that it's a glare. You see, it rotates like the exact right amount for the camera. You see it rotate
Yeah.
independently of the horizon. Like when the plane banks, the horizon banks, but the glare doesn't. It just stays fixed in the frame. So there's all these things going on that kind of match it. There's little bumps that
So
happen.
that
There's
that wouldn't change for you knowing any other
no, I think,
contextual
yeah, we just
information
don't know
about it.
what's behind the glare, and we
The
don't know
glare. I
how
see what you're
far
saying.
away the object is. So I
I
think
gotcha.
it's definitely glare. It could be something that's doing this really weird maneuver
So
just
you do
like
think there's
8
an
miles
object
away.
there, not just
Oh
a
yeah. Oh,
light of
definitely.
some
Yeah.
sort,
Yeah. It's
like not
definitely an
just
object.
something. Okay,
Yeah. It's like
interesting.
you don't
Yeah,
get a glare from nothing unless it's like sunlight, but this was at night.
fair enough.
So, this is a physical object and this is glare. It doesn't
It's
mean
got
there's
to
nothing
be
there because
glare
there's
is
glare
what?
there.
Reflection off of
Uh,
that, right? Or
No,
power
glare
from
glare
that,
isn't
or
reflection. Like a lens flare like this here. This is
yeah,
reflection. This is reflecting off the internal lens elements in my camera.
sure.
This is glare. And you see, you can't see the tip of my
Okay,
finger there, like
sure,
because
sure.
the light is so bright that it's basically spilling out. It's a combination of, well, it's mostly spilling out because of the lenses aren't optically perfect, so light is kind of spreading out a little, and it's so bright you can see the light that's spreading.
Sure.
So that's glare.
So that
Uh,
object is emanating
it's just hot,
emanating
basically.
a light,
It's hot. It's because we're looking at a thermal camera footage. Uh, and
but it
so
must
when
be
you see,
creating that power, right? That light.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
creating the
So
light. Okay.
like, I mean, the example I always give is a jet engine.
The back of a jet
Back
engine.
of a jet, and you think of like say, look at an FA-18. Look at it's got two
Are there
engines
other
very close
videos that
together.
have that look just like the gimbal, but aren't? But you're like, it's confirmed that's a jet engine with the same
The
can.
the
Does that make
best
sense?
one is the Chilean Navy UFO because that's the only one that has jet engines at a considerable distance. They're actually like I think they start at
How
40
is there not
miles.
more videos online of like
The problem is,
confirmed jet engine
yeah,
and you know what I mean? The back.
there's
It's
a
like
few, but they're all close up. You don't get these. The problem is like the camera's trying to adjust the exposure for the scene. So if I bring this like very close to the camera, like you see everything in the background is now getting dark because it's correctly
yeah,
exposing. Now you can see the details of this flashlight. You can see the crenulations
yeah,
around the edges because it's exposed correctly. But when you move it back over
correct.
here, now it's exposing for the rest of the scene. So it's like very
Sure.
distant, but the glare itself is actually a lot bigger relative to the size of the flashlight. You bring it here,
Yeah,
the glare shrinks down to that
sure.
size because it's
No, I
exchanging.
get that.
You
It's
bring it
it's
back, it,
more
it
just like
grows.
the fact there's no like
Yeah. So the lack of
examples
examples
of
is
that is
because
weird
it's
or
there's two
not.
reasons I think. One is that the AppFLIR system is classified. There's very little AppFLIR footage out there,
I
especially like
gotcha.
operational stuff. And the other is like videos of jets are way more interesting than videos of tiny blobs of light way off in the distance. So if someone's posting stuff online, they're going to post
They're
this fun
not
video of
getting
a jet doing
that.
stuff, and that jet's going to be like 2 or 3 miles away, not
Sure.
the 30 miles away that you need. But there is
Sure.
this one video of the Chilean Navy thing, which was a plane. It was actually a four-engine plane, an Airbus A340, and you see it off in the distance, and you see each of the four engines has a glare around it. It actually ends up looking like two because it's two groups of engines up in the distance. But you see these very, very large glares. And if you take an FA-18 and you stick it where the engine is, the size of the glare of this A340 around the engine is pretty much the same as the size of the glare around an FA-18 engine at the distances we're talking about with gimbal. So it's something that does kind of match. And it's something which I'll probably be talking to Marek about it because he disagrees with me on that.
That it matches,
But
yeah.
it's
So
probably the
this
best
object
example we have.
in the gimbal only has one engine. That's or
It
two
one or
maybe
two
that are
very close
bleeding
together.
together.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I see.
The FA-18 has two engines.
Wouldn't that
Uh,
pilot know that that's a plane right there? That seems
you
odd that
think, but like
he wouldn't know that.
it's the times that the pilots don't recognize things that become UFOs. And it's
Sure.
like perhaps that 1 in a million set of circumstances that happens 1 in a million times, but millions of things happen all the time, and 1 in a million of them is going to be really interesting. Those are the ones that become UFOs. So yeah, it's like you think, they should have figured it out. They should have known it was a plane, but maybe this is just the one time that they didn't, and that is the one that becomes a UFO. It's not like this
Sure.
happens all the time. If
Sure.
it happens all
Sure.
the time, they'd know. They'd have all this footage. Like remember the green triangle
Maybe they
nonsense.
do. Maybe they have
Like
a bunch of footage and we don't
the
know.
one time people see a green triangle on night vision cameras was the one time that they decided it was a flying pyramid. And then it happened again 2 years later and they figured it out. If it happened all the time, they wouldn't have these
Well,
problems.
I don't know. To be fair to I hear what you're saying, but to be fair, like we don't know what's behind the wall, meaning like of the government and all the videos they have and every. Maybe they have a
Yeah.
treasure trove. Again, I'm not
I
saying.
don't think it's pretty what's behind the wall.
I mean, that's true, but I'm just saying to be fair, like that's something it's kind of impossible to
Right.
know.
Yeah,
I
but
get your
so
point. I get what you're saying.
you can't do anything
But
with it.
correct. There's just nothing you can do with it
Yeah.
because it is behind that.
It's speculation, really. You could
It is.
say there's
It is
smoke,
speculation.
therefore there's fire, but you can be smoke without fire or smoke with a fire with a different cause. It's maybe
That's
there's all
true.
this smoke because people are getting too close to highly compartmentalized reverse engineering programs of Soviet technology.
Yeah. I do have something about that I do want to end on with that. I found interesting in an interview I heard with Jarrett Groff. I don't know if you know who that is.
Don't
Um,
doesn't ring a bell.
he's an author. Question for Mick West. Normal time. How much time do you Mick? It's 106. What,
We
like
can
five
go
more
like
minutes?
another,
What do you
yeah,
think?
yeah, 10 minutes
Is
is
that
fine.
cool?
Yeah,
Okay.
5, 10 minutes.
This is from Nominal Topic.
Mm.
What is your standard of evidence for proof other than a White House lawn event?
Well, that's a rather extreme example, of course. UFO landing
Yeah.
on the White House lawn,
Yeah.
that would be great.
I
But
don't know if they'd notice.
there's lots of things that would move the dial. Like, it's like evidence you want to be replicable. It needs to be something that's testable by science. But the simplest thing that I would want to see that we haven't seen is two videos from different locations, different known locations that we can use essentially to triangulate the movement of something. Because we're always seeing these single videos of something like a light in the sky, and maybe it does a little movement or something, and people say that's the UFO moving really, really fast. But you can't really tell from a single video. If you have two from different locations and you see it
Yeah.
moving, and it will
I don't know if a
demonstrate
video
that.
would convince me, man, to be honest with you.
No, that's the problem. It
I don't
probably
think any
probably
video
wouldn't.
would.
But we don't even have that. That's the
Sure.
issue. We you say like, what evidence would you accept? Like I say, oh yeah, if I showed you a video of a flying saucer, you'd just say it was fake. Yeah, try me. I mean, like bring a video of a flying saucer that has good provenance. Like people actually claim I was there when this happened, and maybe ideally two or three different people took it. And show that to me. And if it's fake, we'll figure it out. And if it's not fake, then we'll go from there. But like we don't have. Like, I think this is a huge mistake people are making is just thinking that we've got all this evidence of anomalous technology. We don't. We don't have any evidence of anomalous technology that's unambiguously anomalous. We have things that kind of suggest that it might be anomalous. We have things that are a bit difficult to figure out, like why did this dot move from here to here on the radar? Was it an actual thing moving from here to here on the radar, or was it a radar glitch? We don't know. We don't have an unambiguously anomalous behavior that we can measure and say, here's something that's defying the laws of physics or the state of technology as we know it. We're still looking for that. So bring that forward first before we start speculating about what it might be.
I mean, I'm with you. I want to see some of these videos. The
Yeah.
jellyfish video that supposedly takes off.
Yeah, no, you never see the good bits, do you?
Trust me, I'm with you. I want to see that stuff.
Yeah,
But I'm also look. I'm just a normal like average person. I'm gonna hold my judgment. Like I'm cool.
sure.
Okay, Jeremy Corbell released a video. Hey, dude, thanks for giving us something to look at. In my opinion, like great. We can go from there. And I listen to everyone's opinions about what it is, and I take it all in, and I just say, well, I don't know. So I'll wait and see.
Yeah. It's a shame
Uh,
Jeremy doesn't do a bit of analysis before releasing the videos. I mean, maybe,
I thought
he
about that too, and
personally
I kind of gave
doesn't
him
do
some
it.
criticism of that as well. I thought, well, why in the To Be Revolution thing, like, why wouldn't you have had experts recreate a scenario with some balloons, film it
Yeah.
on a similar system, see what it looks like, does it match? Let's do analysis on this video, that, and then here's the experts talking about it. Like, I get you, but I also as I thought about it more, I thought, okay, I can also understand just putting it out and letting everyone just kind of go at it, yourself, other people, and they kind of
Yeah, that's great.
you get
But
free expert analysis at that point. It's
he could have
free.
done that years ago. Like he had these videos and he's just holding on to them and then he
Sure.
does a midnight release, like saying it's
Well, but I
amazing and
can understand
everything.
again, I can understand if you are concerned about, your connections classify if it's this, like some of
Yeah.
those concerns for him, and he's like, I don't want to just if I go start doing analysis, then people are going to know about it. So let me do it this way. And maybe he did analysis and we don't know about it, and he just
Yeah.
didn't say it. But you would also say, well, then that seems like something you would say because that would help your argument. That
Yeah.
makes sense. Like, here's my problem, Mick. I always see both sides of the coin, man. I can
Nothing wrong
always
with that.
relate, and then the other
Yeah.
side, I can't help it. It's because I think life is about perspective and experience, and just so much involved with how people look at things and the conclusions they come
Sure.
to. So I just try to always consider that. But I hear you. I mean, there's no question. And to be fair to Jeremy, I would say that he probably wants to see that video. You know, he wants that stuff too. I
Who
don't I
wouldn't?
don't
Yeah.
doubt his his desire for that same evidence that you want, that we want, that everybody wants.
Yeah, yeah. I think at a
That's
fundamental level, everybody would like to see that, unless you've
yes.
got,
Oh
I don't know,
man.
shares in Lockheed Martin or something that would be
Yeah,
compromised by
yeah.
a
No, there's
change in
no question.
technology. But
Yeah,
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 yeah.
that's
But
funny.
certainly, all and
That's
even the people like Jeremy, I think obviously he's a promoter of his own brand. So there's that going on as well, but there's no reason why you can't, do that and still have an honest investigation. I think it's just unfortunate
sure,
that he doesn't, kind of acknowledge when things have been shown to be one way or the other. Like the 29 Palms thing, it was 100% flares, but he was all saying it was a craft, and he had loads of military witnesses saying it was a craft and things like that. But it wasn't. He should have acknowledged that. And the Green Triangle, I think he still thinks, I think, that it was a pyramid shaped craft, which is just nonsense, unfortunately. Like I think he hangs on a little bit too strongly to these cherished beliefs and these videos that he put a lot of stock in originally. And it's we need to sort the wheat from the chaff. If we need to figure out, is there any
sure,
signal in this noise? We can't just be like keep on promoting the noise. We got to get rid of the noise, focus on the signal.
sure. I hear you, man. I hear what you're saying. I think, to be fair to him, because he's not here, so I'll just take that seat for him. Um, there could be stuff, information that he has that he just can't reveal for whatever
He says there
reason.
is. He
I'm
says there
not
is.
saying that there is or but whatever. And so he's like, look, I get why you're saying that, but I know this over here, and that's why I don't think what you're saying. So
Yeah.
okay. And look, I think he also is just trying to bring the topic of UFOs and the conversation out to the normal person to start talking about it and having it and get people interested. So I could see leaning a little more into, the belief of it. So anyway, the last thing I'll say, Mick, real quick is, first of all, thank you for doing this and coming on.
No,
This was
thank you.
awesome. I really enjoyed talking with you. I like that we could kind of go back a little bit, and this is how I talk with my friends, just like
Yeah.
back and forth. In fact, I love talking about
Yeah, it's cool.
things, the meat
Yeah.
on the bone, like let's get into it. I'm all about that. And in a fair, civil way, right? Fun way that we could do. So I look forward to maybe having more conversations like this where we can kind of push
Yeah.
back on each other on some things. I really like that, to be honest with you. But one thing I will say that I found interesting, I just saw this in an interview. His name is, I want to say, Jared Groff. You might have to correct me on that, but he's an author. He wrote a book called
Yeah.
UFOs. It just came out. He's
Yeah.
not a
Yeah.
UFO guy.
I know who he is. Yeah.
He's right. And I saw him on David Pakman, and he said he actually made some startling comments that I was like, oh wow, you're saying that. He doesn't think there's aliens or any of that, right? But he said, I do think there are programs, retrieval
Hmm.
programs, that have found some stuff. They don't know what it is. And so maybe a few of them have started to tell some stories and this and that and whatever. But just the fact that he's like, yeah, there are these programs, right?
Yeah.
Because that's kind of a thing that's like, well, there's no, these programs don't exist, and it's impossible. They can't happen. And maybe they are labeled UFOs somewhat within to sort of keep secrecy in that. And maybe people are getting confused. Like I could see some of that, but just like confirmation that he thinks that these programs do exist. I do find
Yeah.
that interesting.
I agree with him though. Like, I mean, why wouldn't there be programs? We know that there's an entire, division of the military called the Foreign Technology Exploitation Group,
Yeah.
which is specifically there as part of NASIX. the National Air Intelligence something or other, Space Command. I can't remember what it's called, but they do that. They've done it since World War II.
Foreign
Capture
material
foreign stuff.
programs or something. That's what I
Yeah,
looked
foreign
up. Yeah.
material exploitation. It's not just
Yeah.
material that's with an E, which
Correct.
means
I learned that in
equipment.
my video. Everyone
Yeah,
commented, Patrick, you didn't know that was the. I thought it was misspelled. I didn't know,
yeah,
dude. I was like, well,
yeah.
why
It's
did they
it's an
spell
unfortunate
material like
word.
that?
Yeah,
Yeah. I was like, this doesn't make sense.
because it's not
But
just
yeah,
like bits of metal; it's equipment and things like that.
sure.
And yeah,
Sure.
so you capture a Soviet whatever, and you try to figure out if there's anything useful, and then you reverse engineer it. Like one, to use anything useful, and two, so you can defend against it. So you capture a MiG. That's something that
100%.
the US has done. They do that, and
100%.
so programs like that would be classified, especially with the newer technology. If we capture some kind of advanced Chinese drone, you wouldn't want the Chinese knowing exactly what you know about it,
Sure.
so you would keep it super compartmentalized.
Sure.
Probably spies within the US military to some degree. So you have to keep things, on a need to know basis. So yeah, I think he's probably right that there are um, essentially crash retrieval programs, because things have crashed in the past and we retrieved them and then we analyze them. And it's entirely possible that some people became convinced. And another thing he says, that there's a cover up, but the cover up is covering up the inadequacy and the lack of quality in the government investigations. It's like this cover your ass. It's like they're
So he
covering
says
up their
that, so he
failures.
believes in conspiracies, is what we're
Essentially,
getting
but
at. He
everyone
does.
believes in conspiracies. I mean, it's not like conspiracies are not real. Like people
Yeah.
conspire all the
I mean,
time.
that's a good point.
What
Yes.
about Wikipedia
Yes.
skeptics? That's a
Yeah.
conspiracy. The military doesn't want to be embarrassed.
Yeah.
There's stuff like the Skinwalker Ranch stuff, like the original investigations. There was a huge document, like not just the dirt, which were these documents that were released. There was another document about all the investigations they did, and it was embarrassing stuff apparently, and they just didn't release it because it was all, portals and werewolves and things like that. So
It's odd
they
that
did.
the government's like, let's not embarrass ourselves when they do it on a daily basis. The U.S. government does, right? It's like it's funny
Well,
that that's
they
what
want
they
to
choose.
minimize their embarrassment,
Yeah.
but like the military, like if the military messes up, what are they going to do? Like, they're going to be like, they just don't
They
want to
mess
talk
up all
about
the
it, I
time, man.
think.
My dad was in the Air Force. I was born in Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah,
I've heard all kinds of stories. My cousins are in the military right now. It's insanity.
it's not like the most well-run thing in the world. There's a
I
huge
mean, you're also
bureaucracy,
asking a
really
lot
slow.
to run. Well, that's a lot to coordinate as well. Like
Yeah,
if that ran perfectly, that would probably be the greatest
it'd
thing
be a miracle.
humanity's ever done. It's
It's
just a group
impossible.
of yeah, it is impossible. So like I
Yeah.
get it for
Yeah,
sure.
so there's a whole bunch of crap going on that they just
Yeah,
probably just don't want to talk about.
yeah.
So there's that. Like, the if you look at the history of the UFO investigations, like the UAP task force, the first one, it's like run by Jay Stratton and Travis Taylor, who are both people who appear on The Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch now. They're people who seem like, interested in the supernatural and whatnot. And there were issues there with the staff who work on those task force thinking that Jay Stratton was too involved in the whole Skinwalker Ranch and werewolves type thing, and they were not spending enough time on other things. And then like they changed it to AIM-SOG, and then they renamed that like Arrow. And Arrow really hasn't been doing a great job. They've not really produced anything incredible. And like you look at the
Not at
investigations they
all.
do, it seems like it takes a really long time to come up with anything. Haven't been able to figure out anything with Gimbal. Apparently, someone talked to
No.
Kirkpatrick at the Sol conference, and
Yeah.
really wasn't even particularly familiar with Gimbal, and trotted out some back of the envelope stuff that was just shows that they hadn't
The
really
Kirkpatrick
spent
stuff's
much
been
time looking at it.
interesting, man. Some of the stuff that's come out, like that he maybe, I don't know, man. It's just like all
Uh,
this stuff comes out. It's like he came out with his interviews in that Scientific American op-ed, but then he
yeah,
also, you see these other articles where like, no, I wanted to say more, but I wasn't allowed. And then the Pentagon's like, no, dude, we let you have every
yeah.
news
That
appearance
was
you
the like the Daily
wanted.
Star's take on it. I don't think it was that was mischaracterized. Like what
No, but
he said. But
they asked the Pentagon for a comment, and they said no.
yeah,
We
but
let
they
him
didn't
have
ask
every
him to
appearance.
clarify his comments.
Oh, you're
So they
saying
should have
Dr.
done like. I
Kirkpatrick's
don't think
comments
Kirkpatrick was like,
originally.
I was muzzled from saying what I knew about the aliens.
No, I'm
He-
just saying he was saying I wanted to talk more
Yeah,
openly about things, and I wasn't allowed. And then they're like, no, we let you have every appearance you asked for.
well,
So,
we should ask
but
him that.
again, we're asking the Pentagon, like
Yeah,
the government, to be forthright and honest about everything, and it's just not going to
yeah,
happen. No
yeah,
matter what side of the fence you're on, it's hard to trust what they say. That's the problem with it. Anyway.
yeah,
Anyway, I appreciate this conversation, Mick. Honestly, it's been awesome. I've really enjoyed talking to you, man, and
yeah. Thank you.
I hope you were able to sort of get your points across about the Wikipedia stuff, because that was my main point of
Yeah,
bringing
no, I
you
think
on.
so.
So I wanted
I
to make
think so.
sure you had a voice out there here about that. So I think it's only fair if someone accuses someone to let defend themselves. Seems pretty straightforward to me.
It does indeed.
So I hope the Good Ford show, or
Good
wait,
trouble
the Good Trouble show, sorry,
with Matt
with
Ford.
Matt Ford. I hope they reconsider that with you, and have you on to discuss if you want, or whatever,
I
I
would,
think that
yeah,
would
I'd go
be
on the show because, like,
I think that would be
I
fair.
think engaging directly with people is the best way to resolve misunderstandings. I mean, your
Yeah,
disagreements are still going to remain, but a lot
sure.
of those disagreements can be the result of misunderstandings. And I think that's a lot of what goes on with people who just interact with me on Twitter, say, and don't actually
Sure.
talk to me or look at my work. So,
That's
all
fair.
for resolving misunderstandings.
I think that's 1,000% fair, man. I couldn't agree with that more. And what a great way to end agreeing on this, for sure, man. Again, thank you for everything you do in the community. I have zero problems with you. I love what you do. I follow it. Again, I don't always agree. I don't agree with anybody on it, everything. You know what I'm
But
saying? Like, that's just normal.
yeah.
Yeah, that would be weird if I did, to be honest. So anyway, I do appreciate, what you provide,
Well, thank you
what
very
you do,
much
man. So
for having me
yeah,
and
man.
giving
Look, good
me
luck on your
yeah.
stream today.
Thanks for the opportunity to damage national security a little bit more.
Yeah. Apparently I do it too. So, I get it from all sides, man. I get people that believe,
Yeah.
that hate me, and skeptics, that people, fans of yours, man, came after me.
Yeah.
In fact, called me a POS and this and that. And I was like, whoa, dude, what the hell's going on here? I see it, the hate everywhere, to be honest with you. If
Yeah, it's
people can't
unfortunate.
fit you, it is, man. It is what it is. We're not
Mm.
responsible for the people that watch our shows and follow us, right? Like what they do outside of that. It's like, I can't control that stuff,
Yeah,
So
yeah.
anyway, thank you for your time, man. I know you got a huge stream coming up. I will be watching. Good luck with everything.
All right. Thank
And
you.
yeah, man, we'll talk soon. Thank you, Mick.
Thank you. See ya.
All right, brother. Bye.